They handed me a plastic piggy bank. Still had the price tag on it, $1.99. Then my mom smiled and said, "You've always been so independent." That was the moment I realized this wasn't favoritism. This was erasure. So I packed my things, placed the house key on the counter, and by 2:17 a.m. I was gone. But you want to know what hurt more than the gift? It's what I found after I left. The drive from Seattle had taken nearly 6 hours. I hit patches of snow just past Olympia, then again through the passes. My car's heater had given up somewhere near Salem, so by the time I pulled into my parents' driveway in Bend, Oregon, I was cold in a way that stayed in the joints. Inside, it looked like a postcard. Fireplace flickering, garlands hugging the staircase rail, cinnamon wafting from the kitchen. My sister Belle's laugh met me before anyone else did. She was barefoot, in a designer robe, holding a glass of wine like she'd never had to hold her own weight in her life. My mother, Lois, breezed out from the kitchen with that clipped voice she used when guests were near, even if the guest was her own daughter. "Oh, finally," she said. "We weren't sure you'd make it in this storm. Belle thought you might have turned back." I dropped my bag near the coat rack. My fingers were stiff. "No, I said I'd come." Belle floated over, kissed my cheek in a way that barely touched skin. "You look Seattle," she smiled. It wasn't a compliment. I nodded, took in the warm lights, the carefully curated chaos. I reminded myself, again, that this year might be different. It never was. But I kept hoping. Dinner had been set, already half-eaten by the time I arrived. Belle narrated the highlights of her year between bites. An art show that didn't sell but was spiritually profitable. A retreat in Sedona. A new podcast about personal branding. When gift time came, Mom handed out presents in her usual order. Belle first. A heavy ribboned box from Neiman Marcus, perfume she'd posted about last month. Then a smaller velvet pouch with gold clasps. "From your father and me," Mom beamed. Belle squealed as she opened the designer bracelet. I sat still, palms against my thighs. My father, Trevor, watched with that half-proud, half-distant look he reserved for moments that cost him money. Then came the big box. It had a red bow so large it took up most of the foyer. "Let's step outside," Belle clapped, dragging Mom with her. I followed, more out of necessity than curiosity. And there it was, a brand-new white BMW parked at the edge of the driveway, still gleaming from the delivery detail. Belle screamed. Neighbors turned to look. Dad stood a few feet back, arms crossed but satisfied. "Oh my God, my own Beamer!" Belle shrieked. "I manifested this!" I stood next to a bush, snow melting into my boots. Mom looked at me finally. "Go ahead, honey," she said. "Your gift's on the table." Back inside, a small box sat between a coffee mug and a candle set. It was wrapped in cartoon paper, something you'd use for a toddler. I peeled it open. A piggy bank shaped like a smiling panda. I stared at it, then flipped it over. Inside, 2 folded dollar bills. And Mom sipped her wine. "It's the start of your future fund. You're always so good with money, not like someone else." She winked at Belle. Belle leaned in, still glowing from the car. "At least you won't have to deal with monthly payments like I will. That's stress." I didn't say a word. My hands were cold, still wrapped around the little panda. I didn't feel hurt. Or angry. I felt erased. Later, I noticed the invitation card on the counter. Cortland Family Christmas, Lois, Trevor, Belle. No mention of me. The slideshow played again in the living room. Picture after picture. Belle as a baby, Belle at prom, Belle at her college graduation, one picture of me, group shot, half my face blocked by someone's hair. Dad caught me staring. "Your sister just has that star quality," he said, shrugging. I didn't answer. I was too tired for subtle cruelty. I walked upstairs, the hallway colder than it should have been. My room hadn't changed. Same bookshelf, same bed. Same framed report card from 9th grade, back when praise was something I still hoped for. Why did I expect anything different? I'd saved for weeks to buy them gifts. A briefcase for Dad, a kitchen gadget Mom had bookmarked online, art supplies Belle claimed to need for her latest venture. I had stretched every dollar, skipped nights out, said no to things I wanted. I thought, maybe this year would be the one. Was that naive? Probably. I looked down at the panda bank in my hand and thought, this is what they think I'm worth. $2 and a recycled punchline. My hands moved before my mind did. I opened my suitcase, packed the essentials, laptop, chargers, work clothes, the only photo album I ever kept. I left everything else. I took the key off my ring and set it on the hallway table next to the little snow globe Belle brought back from Aspen. No note, no goodbye. I stepped out into the snow. Cold bit at my collarbones. I didn't zip up my coat. The sky was so quiet, it felt wrong. I got in my car, turned the key. The radio played some melancholy Christmas song, something about home and white lights. The clock on the dash said 2:17 a.m. I whispered to no one. This is the year I became invisible enough to disappear. 3 days before Christmas, I found myself at a community event I didn't want to be at. My company had designed the new public park, 6 months of late nights, budget battles, and compromise stacked on top of compromise. I hadn't planned to attend the unveiling, but Mom insisted, said it would mean a lot to the town. What she meant was it would mean a lot to her. And Belle. The community hall was warm, lit with a blend of string lights and budget-grade uplighting, the kind that tried too hard. Folding chairs filled quickly with neighbors in winter coats, clutching programs and free cider. I kept my distance, hovering near the back. Belle arrived 20 minutes late, coat flared out like a runway, high heels clacking like she owned the floor. She greeted people with air kisses and that voice she only used in public, the one that added sugar to every sentence. Mom looked over at me and gave a look, not disapproving, not excited, just warning. As if to say, don't ruin the moment. I hadn't opened my mouth. The MC welcomed everyone and began a list of thank yous. City council, local donors, a handful of volunteers. I waited. My chest tightened as each name passed, skipping over mine like it was never there. Then came the kicker. We also want to acknowledge the creative inspiration behind the visual aesthetic of the park. Belle Cortland. I froze. Belle smiled like she'd been handed a crown. Walked right up to the mic, cleared her throat. My mom always told me I had an eye for beauty, she said. And I just wanted to bring that here, to my hometown, to all of you. The crowd clapped. Some stood. Mom clasped her hands under her chin like she'd just witnessed a miracle. Dad nodded along like this was inevitable. I sat motionless. My name wasn't in the program, wasn't in the speech, wasn't on the slides. I pressed the paper in my lap so hard it creased like it might tear. After the applause died down, people started milling about. Small talk, cookies. A few approached Belle, complimenting her on her vision. One older woman leaned toward me and smiled. You must be so proud of your sister. I nodded, jaw tight. Every day. Belle came up, arms full of flowers someone had handed her. She leaned in close and whispered, I mentioned your firm in the draft. Maybe they edited it. You know how these things go. No, I didn't. And I didn't believe her either. Later that night, we returned to the house. I was quiet on the ride. Belle recounted every compliment she got, every hand she shook. Mom played it on loop. Back home, the lights were dim. Dad poured bourbon. I retreated to the edge of the living room, sat on the armrest like I wasn't sure I'd be staying. We're doing the Christmas video now, Mom called. I'd made a video, 2 weeks in the making. A montage of family photos, footage from past holidays, clips of Dad dancing offbeat and Belle singing badly but confidently. I'd sent it to Mom last week, told her how important it was to me that we played it together. Instead, Belle pulled out a USB drive. She plugged it in. Her highlight reel lit up the TV. Art galleries, solo travel, birthday parties with people I'd never met. It was Belle on screen. Only Belle. No one asked where mine was. When the video ended, I spoke, barely. I thought you were going to play the one I sent. Mom didn't look up. Oh, sweetie, I think I accidentally deleted it when I cleaned up the desktop. She took a sip of wine like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. I reached into my bag and felt for my USB, still there. Cold plastic, never touched. The room buzzed. Belle added background music from her phone. Dad nodded off. I didn't say another word, just sat with the weight of that little device in my purse. They've never been proud of what I built, just of what Belle performed. That thought settled into me like concrete. No one corrected her. No one defended me. I was surrounded by people who shared my name and none of my truth. I went upstairs early. I lay in the same bed I grew up in, staring at the ceiling. I could hear laughter downstairs. The video played again. I recognized the rhythm of Belle's voice, her stories, the ones that edited me out. Even if I built the foundation, they'd hand her the credit. Every time. I closed my eyes. Even when I did everything right, I was never going to be invited into the story. I woke up to the sound of Belle laughing downstairs. Her voice carried like perfume, always lingering longer than it should. For a moment, I wasn't sure where I was. Then the ceiling confirmed it. My childhood room, still intact, still too pink. The bed felt smaller now, like it didn't want me in it. I rolled over, saw the same bookshelf full of trophies I never earned, dolls I never played with. They'd never updated this space, not for me, not for the version of me that grew up, the one who paid her own rent and fixed her own plumbing. The air smelled like baked ham and cinnamon. Christmas crept up the stairs, loud and bright and not meant for me. I laid there a little longer, remembering the look in Mom's eyes last night when I asked about the video, like I had asked her to explain calculus in public. It's easier to erase someone when they never raised their voice. That sentence landed like a truth I hadn't asked for. I got up, pulled on a sweatshirt, and opened the drawer of my old desk. Same faded stickers on the side, same stubborn drawer that always stuck halfway. I gave it a tug, and it opened. Inside, a stack of dried-up markers, some old notebooks, and a single envelope with my handwriting on the front. My name in shaky cursive. To Mom. I remembered writing it. 14 years old. After she forgot to come to my art show. After she said Belle had soccer that day and couldn't miss it. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I wrote. I peeled open the seal. It had been opened before, jagged edge across the flap. Inside, my letter was folded 3 times. Am I hard to love or just easy to forget? No greeting, no sign-off. Just that one question, a question I never got an answer to. On the back, in red ink, her handwriting. One line. She's dramatic. Ignore. I sat there with that paper in my hand, not breathing, not blinking. Just holding the version of me that had asked to be seen and got labeled a problem instead. I didn't go downstairs for another 30 minutes. When I finally did, Mom was slicing strawberries like we were prepping for a brunch party. She didn't look up. Morning, sweetheart. Coffee? She slid a mug across the counter like we hadn't skipped years of understanding. Thanks, I said, out of habit more than gratitude. I tried to bring up the video again, the one I made, the one she accidentally deleted. She waved her knife slightly, not enough to be threatening, just enough to dismiss. It's just a video, sweetie. Belle came in mid-sentence, talking over whatever I was trying to say. Something about a new collaboration with a local boutique. Dad walked by without a word. His eyes dropped to the floor like they always did when conflict got too close. I stood in that kitchen, holding a cup of coffee I didn't want, in a house I didn't feel real in, with people who loved a version of me that never needed anything. After breakfast, I wandered down the hallway. The photo wall still stood tall. Years of memories, frames stacked in perfect symmetry. Belle in her prom dress, Belle holding her diploma, Belle posing at her gallery show. My senior graduation photo? Gone. I checked the frames twice, checked behind others, opened the hallway cabinet. Nothing. I found Mom folding napkins in the dining room. Where's my graduation photo? She didn't pause. I think it cracked a while back. We tossed it, not misplaced, not packed away, tossed. I nodded once and walked out the front door. My keys were still in my pocket. I got in my car, didn't turn it on, just sat there, breathing. There's a moment when grief turns into something else, something sharper, less patient, less forgiving. I didn't cry. I opened my phone, pulled up my notes app, and made a list. Cancel shared Netflix. Remove from family calendar. Forward vacation home docs to lawyer. Confirm return flight. Draft email to Seattle office. This wasn't a meltdown. It was an outline, a strategy, a roadmap out. I sent a quick text to my landlord. Is the unit ready early? He responded within minutes. Yes, I'll have the keys waiting. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt finished. I sat there in that car, in front of that house, and whispered to myself, they won't notice I'm gone until they realize they no longer get to speak for me. Late afternoon. I knocked lightly on the door of Dad's workroom before stepping inside. He was hunched over the table, reading glasses perched on his nose, flipping through a catalog like it mattered. I held out the gift, wrapped neatly, no ribbon, a set of rare historical atlases, expensive, thoughtful, and supposedly from both me and Belle. He looked surprised. You didn't have to do that. Belle and I split it, I said. Just as I said her name, she entered, loud, boots clicking on the hardwood. She wore a cashmere sweater and that overly sweet smile she saved for performances. Surprise, she chirped, glancing at the box. Hope you love it, Daddy. Took me forever to find the right one. I didn't say anything. Dad stood, pulled her into a hug, thanked her like it was all hers. Mom showed up at the doorway, hands clasped, eyes wet like a Hallmark scene. I stood by the bookshelf, invisible. You can't rewrite what's signed, but you can choose when to stop co-signing it. By dinner, I had slipped into the background. Again, the table was long enough for 10, but tonight, it seated 6. Mom placed Belle between her and Dad. I was across from them, closer to the kitchen, next to the extra chair no one sat in. Belle recounted her trip to Paris. She described the streets, the architecture, how French people just get design. Everyone laughed when she mimicked a barista's accent. I cleared my throat. I got promoted last month. Lead on a downtown restoration Oh, that reminds me, Belle cut in. I might start a bracelet line with recycled materials, like vintage with a twist. Dad smiled. That sounds promising. Mom nodded. Belle always knew how to capture a room. I sipped water instead of wine. I'd need a clear head if I wanted to make it out of this house with my sanity intact. After the dishes were cleared, Mom turned to Belle. I set up your old room. Fresh linens, candles, even got the lavender spray you love. Then she looked at me. We figured you'd be okay on the sofa, sweetie. You're always so adaptable. There's a bed in the den, I said. That room's full of storage now. Dad didn't speak, just looked at the floor. I went to the living room, sat on the edge of the couch, my fists curled inside the sleeves of my sweater. They'd planned this, like I was a temporary guest. An hour later, I found Mom in the kitchen, rearranging leftovers like it was urgent. I need to talk to you, I said. She didn't stop moving. Sure. I'm not doing this anymore. She paused. This, I repeated. Being the one who disappears so she doesn't make anyone uncomfortable. Mom chuckled lightly, like I'd told a bad joke. Oh, honey, don't be dramatic. You've always been sensitive. Belle just fits better here. I nodded once. If you keep erasing me, you'll lose me. Not for a few weeks. For good. She blinked but said nothing. I turned and walked away. Cold, dry, hollowed out, but standing. Back in the living room, Belle sat down next to me, cradling a mug of tea like a scene out of a lifestyle blog. You've always been the strong one, sis. That's why they don't worry about you. That's not a compliment, I said. It's a strategy to neglect. She gave a soft chuckle. You read too much into things. I didn't respond. Some conversations aren't worth the oxygen. Later that night, when the house had finally settled, I opened my laptop and logged into my bank account. I transferred my half of the gift money back to my personal account, then printed the receipt, folded it, and taped it to the box in Dad's workroom. One last thing. I scribbled on a Post-it note and stuck it on top. You're welcome to take credit, just not my money. I woke up with a crick in my back and the taste of stale air in my mouth. The couch had swallowed me whole. My coat had doubled as a blanket, and my boots were still by the door, untouched, half covered in salt from the driveway. Morning, sweetheart, Mom called from the kitchen. Coffee? She was smiling like nothing ever happened. Her robe was crisp. The kitchen smelled of cinnamon and artificial cheer. Belle floated past me, wearing a holiday robe that screamed influencer branding, a tripod already set up by the fireplace. She was mid-monologue to her phone when she gave me a nod like I was background furniture. I sat up slowly, every bone aching in places I didn't know could ache. The ache wasn't physical. This house should have been a mirror, but it was a stage. I wasn't family. I was cast as extra. My phone buzzed as I sipped the coffee I hadn't asked for. A bank notification. I frowned. Opened the app. At first, I thought it was a glitch. But the numbers checked out. A mortgage was being closed under my name. I checked the address. The vacation home in La Pine. I stood up. Walked into Dad's study where he was fussing with cords under the TV. "Did you use my name to take out a loan?" He didn't look up. "It was years ago. Just paperwork. It helped with rates." "You didn't tell me. You were working full-time. Your credit was strong. And now you're selling it without telling me." He finally looked at me. "Belle's drowning, Jenny. She needs help. It's family." I stared at him. He stared back like he hadn't just admitted to financial fraud dressed in a father's shrug. My name was useful. That's all I was to them. Out back, I sat on the patio steps with the printout from my email. The contract with my name on the deed, the lender details, everything. They needed my stability but never valued my presence. I remembered being 25. Co-signing a car loan so they wouldn't lose their second vehicle. I didn't even drive it. Belle wrecked it 6 months later. They said it was an accident. Never paid me back, just called it love. I stared out at the trees, bare and unmoved by the cold. The kind of silence that doesn't ask for company. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just recalculated. Later, a new email popped up, sent to a cousin. I'd been accidentally CC'd. "Don't worry about including Jenny," Mom had written. "She tends to get overly emotional around these things." Then, "Belle needs all the love she can get right now." It wasn't the content, it was the tone, like I was a pothole on a scenic drive. An inconvenience. I closed the laptop, walked back to the guest room. My suitcase was still half-packed from when I'd first arrived. I unzipped it, folded the contract, slid it into the lining. I opened my notebook. "When someone shows you who they are," I wrote, "believe them the first time." Maya Angelou. I didn't confront anyone, didn't slam doors, just deleted the Christmas slideshow I'd been working on. Hours gone with one click. Quiet can be sharper than shouting. That evening, I changed the password on the family Netflix account. It was petty. It felt good. I started looking at flights back to Seattle. One was open. Early morning. I clicked hold, called my landlord. "The unit's ready," he said. "I'll tape the keys to the inside mailbox." I nodded like he could hear me. I gathered legal papers, slipped them into an envelope, labeled it "Documents to Keep." I placed it in my purse like you place a receipt for something you'll never return. My last note in the journal that night. "There's strength in leaving, even if nobody says thank you when you go." Christmas Eve evening. The house smelled like cider and clove, the kind of warmth you're supposed to associate with comfort. I walked through it slowly, watching the way everyone moved around one another like choreography. Belle placing napkins just so. Mom laughing at something Dad mumbled near the oven. I stood in the hallway watching them, and not once did anyone look up. You can tell when a place has already let you go. It stops looking surprised when you don't speak. I helped clear some plates, not out of kindness but habit, then sat quietly as everyone got ready for dessert. I didn't reach for a fork, didn't ask for the pie I brought. Belle stood near the kitchen island, holding her phone up and angling it just right. "Let's say hi to Aunt Marla," she chirped, opening a FaceTime call. I stayed seated, half present, half already somewhere else in my mind. Aunt Marla's face filled the screen. "Is Jenny there?" she asked, voice a little fuzzy. Belle didn't even look over. "Oh, she's probably off journaling somewhere," she giggled. "She's like our little mystery writer." They laughed. Even Mom let out one of those soft, controlled chuckles she saves for saving face. No one corrected her. No one said, "She's right here." I sipped my coffee slowly and logged every second of it into memory like a deposition. Later that night, upstairs in the guest bathroom, I was packing my things piece by piece. Not in a rush, I had no flight to catch yet. But I was preparing, like someone who knew they wouldn't be making this trip again. Toiletries. Journal. The printed contract folded into a file sleeve. I lined everything up on the countertop, then took a photo of the front of the house from the window. Not for nostalgia, closure. I pulled up the shared family calendar on my phone. Brunch next weekend. Spring gathering. Mom's birthday. One by one, I removed myself. Some goodbyes don't need suitcases, just boundaries. I stepped into the hallway and nearly bumped into Dad. He didn't move, just said, almost like a reflex, "You've been distant this year." I looked him in the eye. "Maybe you just haven't been paying attention." He opened his mouth to respond, thought better of it. Instead, he offered, "You were always the reliable one." My smile was tight. "That's code for invisible." He nodded once. Didn't argue, just walked away, same way he always had. Back in the room, I sat on the edge of the bed and opened my phone. Group chat still open from earlier. Scrolled up. My name, Miss Engineer, with a briefcase emoji. Belle's name, Our Star, with a gold star. I took a screenshot, saved it to a new folder. Proof. Then changed my own contact name in the chat to no longer available. Not for them. For me. Before bed, I opened my journal one last time. "They say grief comes in waves," I wrote. "But what no one tells you is sometimes silence is the loudest wave." On the last page, I scribbled a draft of a message I wouldn't send yet. "Thanks for teaching me what not to become." I closed the book and slid it into my bag. I woke up from a shallow nap on the couch. The fireplace had died down, and the room had a strange kind of stillness to it, like everything was waiting for someone to say something that no one was willing to say. I reached for my phone, half out of instinct, half to confirm I was still real. Facebook notification. "Your memory from 5 years ago." I tapped it. There she was. Mom had posted a photo of Belle holding a tray of cookies at some charity event. The caption read, "So proud of our Belle, always the heart of this family. Nothing from me. Ever." My graduation photo had gotten a single-word post. "Congrats." It wasn't that they forgot. It's that they remembered only who they wanted me to be. I started scrolling, further back. Birthdays, vacations, holiday photos, weddings I attended, but you wouldn't know from their timelines. Baby showers I helped host. They didn't tag me, didn't mention me. It was like I showed up to take the pictures, not be in them. And there it was again. Belle's picture in front of the new park. The park I designed. Hundreds of likes, comments about how creative she was, how her eye for space is remarkable. I removed my tag, then went back and removed it from every photo I could find. They didn't post me because they didn't see me. I opened my laptop. Savings account, still stable. I started calculating. Rent, moving costs. What I'd need to leave quietly and clean. Apartment listings. I scrolled fast. Anything that took me back to Seattle, close to the office, close to somewhere I belonged. I messaged my manager. "Would it be okay if I returned early from leave? I'm ready." Then I opened another tab. Lawyer's office. Drafted a message asking for help revising asset ownership, specifically the house in Lapine. When you're no longer afraid of being forgotten, you can finally decide to leave on your own terms. It was after dinner when Aunt Lorna, technically Tracy, stepped onto the porch with 2 mugs of tea. She didn't ask, just handed me one and sat beside me. We didn't speak for a while. That kind of silence I could actually sit in. She finally said, "Your mom's always been terrified of Belle falling apart. That's why she clings to her." I stared ahead, watching the fog lift off the yard like smoke. "So what does that make me?" I asked. Tracy didn't blink. "The one they knew would survive, even if they lost you." I let that settle between us. Funny how survival is just another word for being left to fend for yourself. She didn't argue. She just sipped her tea. Later inside, they were watching a Christmas movie. Something overly cheerful, full of fake snow and lessons that would never reach this house. Belle was filming herself again. Something about gratitude, legacy, intention. I pulled out my notebook, wrote down a new list. Remove my name from the utilities. Update emergency contact forms. Confirm storage pickup for furniture. Check if I'm still listed on their power of attorney. I wasn't running. I was reclaiming. When I packed my duffel bag and placed it by the door, no one noticed. They didn't ask where I was going, didn't ask if I needed anything, didn't look twice. The best part about never being seen is learning how to leave without waving goodbye. I got there early. On purpose. The community hall was dressed for Christmas. Lights strung across the ceiling, tables lined with red and white runners, paper snowflakes dangling from vents. It should have felt warm. It didn't. I walked the length of the room and found my seat, third from the end. On the place card in front of it, the name read Janny Cortland. Cheap cardstock, computer print. I picked it up and turned it in my hand like it might spell itself right if I stared hard enough. I swapped it with the empty card next to it and wrote my name, correctly, on the back in pen. Nobody saw, or maybe they did. Nobody said anything. Mom walked by a moment later, holding a tray of cookies. Oh, shoot, printer trouble, I think. You know how those templates are. I nodded once. The only thing worse than being invisible is being misnamed by your own blood. By the time brunch began, the seats were mostly full. A few neighbors, distant cousins. Belle's old art teacher. Belle stood to give a toast right before the food was served. Grateful for family, she said, voice clear. For resilience, for dreams supported. Applause. Not loud, not quiet either. When she sat down, I stood. Fork still in one hand. No clink of glass, no grand gesture. Thank you all for coming, I began. My voice didn't shake. There's something I need to clarify today. I reached into my tote and pulled out a stack of folders, white paper, notarized cover sheets. I handed one to each person at the table. This is a legal document showing my name was used to secure a mortgage on a property I was never told I owned, at least on paper. The vacation home in Lapine? That one. A pause. The room went still. Forks hovered. One person coughed. Apparently my credit was good for the loan, I continued, but not good enough for the truth. Belle shifted in her seat. Lois's smile faltered. Dad took a sip of water that didn't seem to go down. I wasn't angry. I was factual. My name has been used financially, emotionally, and legally in this family without dignity. A cousin 2 chairs down asked, "Is this real?" I looked at her. More real than the Christmas cards I never appeared in. Lois started to speak, voice thin. Honey, we were going to talk about this. I raised a hand. I'm not interested in apologies offered after exposure. She went silent. Belle looked around the room like she was hoping someone would jump in. Nobody did. There is no need to burn bridges when you're the one who built them, I said. You just stop offering the map. I opened my purse again and pulled out another sheet of paper. No folder this time. Just a printed copy of the inheritance plan Mom had sent out to select relatives. I laid it on the table. Everyone could see it. My name, crossed out in pen. This was sent to several of you. Quietly. Strategically. I wasn't supposed to see it. Lois blinked like she'd been slapped. Belle sat up straighter. A cousin to my left nodded slowly. I always wondered. It's been obvious for a long time. This isn't about apology, I said. It's about accountability. I returned the folder and the printed place card to Lois's side of the table, then stood, coat over my arm, purse on my shoulder. No flurry, no dramatics. I turned once at the door. For years I thought I had to earn my seat at this table, I said. Turns out I was always the one holding the receipt. And I walked out. The cold air didn't sting. It cleared. I stood by my car, started the engine, then pulled out my phone and sent a text. Coming home tomorrow. Thank you. From the window I saw Belle watching. No tears, no apology, no wave. That was fine. I muttered, and that's okay. The light filled my apartment like it had been waiting for me to notice it. No voices, no footsteps above or below. Just that soft hum the heater made when it kicked in. I padded barefoot into the kitchen, made coffee slowly, deliberately. No one asking me where the sugar was, no one handing me a mug like it came with a judgment. I stood by the window and listened to the silence. Not the kind that hurts, not anymore. This one held space. It felt earned. You know you're healing when silence feels like company, not punishment. I didn't check my inbox. I didn't need to. I knew what would be there. Or more accurately, what wouldn't. Later that morning, I opened my voicemail. Half curious, half out of habit. One message. Mom's voice. Low, but tight. If she doesn't return the car or respond soon, we'll report it. I'll say she took it without permission. Belle's voice in the background, half laughing. She won't fight back, Mom. She never does. I played it twice. Just to make sure I heard what I thought I heard. The car wasn't in my name, never had been. I deleted the message without flinching. Then I opened my journal. They built their story on the assumption that I'd stay silent forever, I wrote. I drafted a short email to my attorney. Simple request. Ensure full legal disassociation from any family-linked assets or liabilities. I logged into the cloud drive where our family photos were stored. Downloaded one image, me and Grandma. That was it. The only person who ever made me feel like being quiet wasn't a crime. Then I deleted my profile from the family calendar. There was nothing left to remember there. That afternoon, Belle called. I answered, no reason not to. I didn't know about the loan, she said. Her voice was low, sincere maybe. I thought, you knew. I didn't argue. I let her sit in it for a second. Whether you knew or not doesn't change the effect, I said. She hesitated. Can we fix this? Healing doesn't always mean returning. We both went quiet. Then the line clicked dead. No fight, no tears, no next step. I took a small card out of my drawer and wrote, "Thank you for raising a woman strong enough to walk away." Folded it, slipped it into a box labeled "Done." Taped the lid shut. Then I opened a travel site and booked a 2-night stay at a cabin by the coast. No Wi-Fi, no phone, just salt air and distance. Sometimes we heal not by confronting the fire, but by choosing not to burn again. That night, I cooked dinner for one, set the table, folded the napkin like I had when I was 8, sitting alone at the kids' end, maple leaf fold. The same one from the Christmas table that made me feel like a ghost. Only this time, it was mine, my table, my meal, my peace. I lit a single candle, poured wine into the only glass I owned that matched the plate. To peace, I said softly. And to never needing their permission again. No applause, no audience, just me. The apology I needed never came, but I gave myself closure instead.